The sponsor of today's interview is College Soccer's Next. College Soccer's Next is the #1 college soccer recruiting service focused on helping aspiring prospective student athletes achieve their dreams of playing college soccer. Some of the services that they're able to provide, I got to read them off the list, include a college soccer mentor who's gone through the recruiting process firsthand, a strength and conditioning coach, a sports nutrition coach, a professional highlight video editor, as well as a personal evaluation and strategic proven plan of action, as well as much, much more to make your dreams of playing college soccer turn into a reality. Book your free consultation call today down in the description at collegesoccersnext.com. Take your first steps at earning your college soccer scholarship today. Enjoy the episode, folks. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Kickball Podcast. I'm your host for today, Danny Lang, and today we have a part 2 episode. Ethan Hoard returns back to the Kickball Podcast after a phenomenal season with Northern Colorado, Hailstorm, in USL League 1. If you guys are watching the news lately, an all-league first-team selection. An exceptional season that Ethan has had throughout the entire year, but we got him back now. Ethan, how are you doing, my man?
I'm doing great, doing great. Couldn't wish I didn't lose so early, but other than that, I'm feeling really good and excited for next year.
Yeah, so I guess just to talk generally about the year as a whole, tell me a little bit about, first adjusting the professional environment. And I'm sure it's something that you've been asked, ad nauseum at this point, from whether it's from family or friends or other people who are interviewing you, but those first experience of getting those practices in, tell me about that. What was it like?
The first trainings, like the first 3 to 2 months in trainings, I was struggling a lot just because like their pace is just so much faster in training. But in the games, I felt like I was up to pace because I was always going at 100% and I was always like my adrenaline was going and everything was just a lot easier in the game because I've played that position my whole life. So like it was just so easy to like bounce off great players because they were making me look good. And then, but in training is where I struggled the most, like in like small spaces, possession, stuff that like you don't normally do at like the collegiate level. And that's the main thing that I really struggled with adjusting is like training and putting training into the games. So.
Right. No, I think it's something that is interesting. I feel like there always is that learning curve just for anybody who's making the jump from college to the professional environment. But tell me about how, like I know you've had a lot of support from a lot of the guys in the Hailstorm as well. Tell me about some of the people who have made the transition a little bit easier and, further on that with just getting better with these practices and just being able to, like really feel a part of this team.
So for sure, like everybody really welcomed me. I would say this is like one of the most welcoming teams I've been on because I got there and they knew that if I was at it, that I could be a big part of the team. But there's a few players that like taught me a few different things in my game and just walking me through the season about like take caring of my body, like my diet, everything like that. Irvin Parr really took me under his wing when I first got there, and he is a huge player, and he taught me a lot when I was there. And then of course my coach Eamon, he taught me a lot about my game because he was a striker back when he played, and he just taught me little things that could make my game 10 times better that you normally don't think about when you're not focused on it all the time. So.
Yeah, no, I find it really refreshing when I hear young guys who are just able to go into the pro environment and then have that support right away. And I know that's something that you've talked about that you felt, and that's always really nice to be able to hear.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was great. It was great. I can't lie.
And I know though too, I think the story that a lot of people were looking at, with this Northern Colorado team, this wasn't a team that started, in the forefront of everyone's mind at the beginning of the season. And then I feel the way that I saw it, and maybe this is just, my perspective on the outside in, but with the Jägermeister Cup, you guys, I think there were like 4 or 5 matches in a row to start in the group stages where you guys didn't lose a game and you were scoring more than every other team. Was that I have a hard time imagining that, just because it's a tournament, you guys turned it on for that, even though it's something else to play for. But, was there a turning point at that juncture of the season?
Yeah, to be honest, when we started getting to the Jägermeister Cup games, it was when we started trying different people in different positions than like a normal league game, and then everybody got a chance to play, and then we really got to see our best 11 on the field because everybody was playing. So then we started playing everybody together who worked with each other. But as we were doing that, we were also playing better together because everyone was playing with everyone. So no matter who was put on the field, we were all already used to them because we all played together already.
Mhm.
So when the cup started is when we really started putting things together as a team and as an organization to say that like we want to win everything. Like our coach always, it doesn't matter what it is, what game it is, we want to win every single game. So no matter what the circumstances was, we always put out our best 11 or our 11 that should beat the other team, no matter who's on the field, because everybody on our team, our coach believed in. So
Yeah, no, I mean, that's really interesting in terms of, I mean, like, because I know sometimes there are a lot of these structures, and we've seen this more in college, and I think you've seen it a little bit as well, and just being around the game. But sometimes you have these certain structured environments where you're not able to put your best 11 players on the pitch, based on just positional things, or maybe you have five exceptional midfielders, but one of them's got to stay off because of whatever XYZ reason. But what do you think is the difference? That allowed Northern Colorado really to be able to utilize that to their advantage of using the best 11 as opposed to the best 11 in terms of, who would be able to fit in certain positions. Why is that such an advantage?
I think the advantage for us is that all of our players were the same level. Like none of us, we never saw anybody as better or worse than anybody else because anyone could play on any weekend. Because like there was a time where we had 3 injuries or 4 injuries, and we were down to an 18-man roster, and we needed like 4 or 5 players to step up and come in and play. But there was no drop off because everybody was ready. Everybody knew that no matter who started and who came off the bench, we either had the best starting lineup or we had the best bench like in the league. So like it was just hard not to play at 100% because it didn't matter who you were playing with, whether it was a bench player or whether it was a starter, because we were all the same. We all trained the same. We all worked the same. So
Yeah, no, and I think that just ends up becoming an expectation at the pro environment, where it's just every one of these guys. I mean, you get some of the best that come from the college program, or I mean, depending on whether or not they're coming from college or another outlet, you're getting guys who are professional footballers now, and that is just the expectation.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I want to talk about though too. I feel like two of the people that I think it was you and Bruno Rendon that I feel like were option A and option A, or what is it? Option 1A and option 1B, despite Bruno really being like in that center back role, I feel like, which even though, you're pretty familiar with though too. I know we talked a little bit about that like in your college career. But I mean, tell me, maybe it wasn't specifically every time with Bruno, but it seemed like every time, like when League One was putting it out, it was you and Bruno like neck and neck with this team. Despite I know there being so many other more pieces on this team though too, and I'll give you a chance to highlight them if you'd like. But like tell me about the relationship that you guys formed, like knowing that it seemed like anytime they were promoting Northern Colorado, it was either you or Bruno.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because me and Bruno actually lived together. Like it was me and him. So most of our most of when we would talk at home was never about soccer because we do see each other every day and we see each other at home. So like everything was always a connection off the field. Like everything we talked about was like how we're feeling, what we're doing, stuff like that. It was never about soccer. So I think when we did get on the field, it was fun to compete against each other. Like we both wanted the same thing. We wanted to score as many as we can, but we also wanted to win. And so I just think as the year went on, when I would score, Bruno would score. When Bruno would score, I would score. And when we were on the field, like we would be laughing in the corner when we would score, when no one else would score, and we would look at each other and be like, okay, like we know what's coming, like it's your turn. So it was a great relationship for sure because not only were we competitive with each other, but we also loved seeing the other person win. So it was a great relationship.
Yeah, that's just the best. I mean, when you have guys who are consistently pulling for each other in terms of these just being able to see success. I mean, I love being able to see that.
It was great. It was great.
And I know though too, I mean, with the travel between a lot of these League One teams, I mean, you've got Omaha, you have, I mean, even there's some people where Northern Colorado is a little bit of a trip to get to though too, and that could play into your advantage though too with having to take, a full day really to travel. I mean, I'm not sure what the logistics end up looking like, but a long travel day and then having to come in to play you guys on certain home games for you. But then even looking at the travel across, you have Madison, there's Omaha, there's Richmond, just to name, I know South Georgia, Tormenta's not easy to get to either though too. But how do you make sure that you're staying mentally right for every match and not letting yourself get too focused on how long that you're on the road, being able to go play the game and then getting right back on?
Yeah, for us, it was more about repetition. So like every single travel day, we would try to do the same sort of structure, same timing, same everything, so that when we're on the road, it's always the same. Like the reason why we played well on the road is because we were so like mentally focused when we get on the road because we would do the same exact thing. We'd be in a hotel, we would go on a walk every day before the game. We would do scout. We would eat the same food. We would be together as a team, and then we would go play. I think the difficult thing was at home. Actually, when we were at home, it's like you wake up in your own bed. You're like you do whatever you want to do on a normal basis. But on away trips, you have a structure. You follow an itinerary. You go to the same place every time when you're in a certain area. And I think at home you can lay in bed all day till 5 o'clock if you really wanted to. And I just think the structure of an away game was easier to adapt to. Oh, it's game day because I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But at home, like it's like another regular day. So yeah, I think that would be the difference.
And I want to ask though too. I mean, I know one of the matches that I want to bring up though too is Lexington. And it was a 5-1 victory, I believe. And this is another one of the connections where you helped out with an assist, another one of many goal contributions. If you wouldn't mind, could you share with the viewers your total goal contributions? I don't want to say it because it wouldn't sound right coming from me.
I had 14 goals and 8 assists overall competitions. So
Yeah, so that'll speak for itself.
yeah.
Um, I know, with one of them though too. I know you had an assist in the Lexington 5-1 match. And this is a team that I don't know if it's I forget if it's next season or the season after that, but that's a team that's looking to make a jump in the championship. You know,
Yes, yes, yes.
being able to make a statement like that against a team that, hey, like is making the move up. What was that like? If it meant anything extra or anything special from there. I know, aside from getting on the stat sheet.
Yeah, the first time we played them, I only played like I think like 5 minutes, like 6 minutes, because it was at the beginning of the season. So I didn't really feel like I got the opportunity to like show myself first them. And then when they came to our place, I was starting at that time, and then I mean everybody was clicking. It was a really good game by us. Like everything, even the goal that they scored was a free kick, and our goalie he put it right in the corner, and our goalie got a hand on it. Like everybody was on the same page about we want to destroy this team. We want everybody to get a stat today. Like it was a good mentality on that day for sure. But overall, I think playing that team, like you just believe more. Like oh, like this is a team that's going to championship next year. Okay, well let's show them that we're on a level above. Like it's just that mentality.
Yeah. And further on that though too, I mean that's a home game like you're talking about where that becomes, the mental thing ends up going into there. But um there was something else that you mentioned though too about a little bit further back, like of not necessarily having the time earlier on in the season, but then really coming into your own despite not starting right away. What do you think what was that process like of working your way and showing your coaches that hey, you belong not only in a professional environment, but you would be able to thrive.
Yeah, it was when I realized that as this goes for anybody on the bench or anything. I just chose to pick out one thing that I'm really good at that is my game that has nothing to do with doing extra to get on the field and just stick to that and be really good at it. Because at the end of the day, if I'm doing one thing great that we need, then I will ultimately get the chance. And then if I continuously do that, then overall, like I could, it's hard to take me off the field. So this, like, I any player who's stuck on the bench, just pick one thing out of your game. You don't need 30 things. You don't need to prove yourself to get better. Oh my God, I'm doing all of these things right and I'm still not playing. I just chose one thing that I'm really, really good at and like winning aerial duels, like holding the ball up. Just be dominant at that until you get your chance and then just keep thriving. Like that's ultimately what really happened is that I just chose one thing to get good at, got better, and then ultimately the goals started flowing. So that's yeah.
And what I like though too is that you mentioned two other things. I mean, you mentioned a uh, being able to have the scoring output though too, but I like the two things that you brought up, those two, the aerial duels and being able to hold the ball up on that front on the yes, the front. I was gonna say the back line. No, we're not talking that far back. We're not talking about when you played center back, but I like you being able to hold the ball up on the front line though too. Like despite you having those skills and further strengthening your ability to be able to be a great finisher, a phenomenal finisher, to be honest with you. And then again, being able to have the opportunity to show yourself in the scoring output. I have to imagine though that there are certain other game changes that happened, as you were getting more time. You become exceptional at this one thing. And we talked about even before about putting your 11 best players regardless of position. So what do you think were certain things that maybe were changed with Colorado that would have helped, that have certainly helped you and Colorado be able to get to go on, I mean, 5, 6 game win streaks that I've seen throughout the season?
Yeah, the main thing that my coach always preached to me was my movement. It
Mhm.
doesn't matter where I am on the field. I should move into space that helps my team, whether that's making a dummy run, whether that's movement in the box, whether that's moving into the space so I can hold the ball up to get the pressure off our back line. It was always movement, 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 movement. If I'm doing the right movement, then we will score because I'm either opening up space or I'll make the right run to score the goal. So that's what he preached, and that's what ultimately got way better over the season. Is that like I always was in the right space. I knew where to go at that time. Like at the end of the season, I was in the right spaces at the right time because I just knew where to go.
Yeah.
So
And a big part of that though too, that comes into agility training. I mean, naturally, you being a guy who's 6'5" and came from a college background where I know it obviously is more physical, and that continues, I think, more into League One and Championship as well, this physical aspect that we talk about. But you talk about movement and making runs. Was there an adjustment that you had to make with agility training, or was there anything? I know because I know some of the guys, or even strength training as well too. Some of the guys that I've interviewed who are 6'4", 6'5" strikers, and they're just too skinny, and their coaches tell them like, "Yo, get in the gym, be gym rats," and that's what they end up doing. That's what takes their game to the next level. Is that something you've seen, not only this year, but over the last few years of being a better nine?
So my strength of going in was my hold up play. Like I'm just really good at using my body. So
Yes.
it wasn't about getting stronger or bigger or anything like that, but it was about more of my balance of being able to hold the ball and control the defender at the same time without losing balance or getting fouled or getting hit and being able to keep going because like sometimes I don't get the calls that everybody else does because I am 6'5". So keeping my balance through transition or keeping my balance with the ball at my feet, I think that was the main adjustment. Just because, like, if I can hold my balance with um, a man on my back, like it would be almost impossible for someone to steal the ball. So I think the main thing I worked on was balance.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a skill that I don't think that I won't say is lost, but I will say no, I won't say that at all, actually. I think it's something that's lost on the viewer, about how important that, playing physically as that. Now, I think sometimes with a lot of the highlight goals, you see on ball dribbling ability to be able to take a guy one on one, or it's just you're making a run on a breakaway. Not with you specifically, but I'm just saying on YouTube, like that's what people see as that nine. How important is that skill of you know those tangible things that don't show up on that score sheet? What does that really impact in the game?
I would say that's probably the biggest part of being a nine because the nine position is like I could not touch the ball for 80 whole minutes, and the moment I get the ball, I'm supposed to score. But
Right.
it's about doing the intangibles to get those opportunities to score, like the movement that I've never thought about in my career until I got here. Like if I'm not moving, I'm not scoring. If I can't hold the ball up, our team's not going to get up. We're not scoring. If I don't make the right runs, like we're not going to get in the box. It's just the intangibles that you don't really think about as a player that you have to think about when you're in the pro game because if you don't do them right, you're not going to get the chances that you need to score the goals. So the intangibles about like being physically ready, like being able to play 90 minutes, like everything that you do off the field or even on the field determines whether you score the goal or look good on the field and stuff like that. So
Yeah, and sometimes it's not always about the goal being pretty. It's just being able to find the back of the net.
exactly,
And
exactly. They count the same.
yeah, right. And we've seen a lot of that. I mean, not that, you've scored a lot of great, shots sometimes they're outside the box and you're taking those shots, and I'm like, sinking in, and I'm like, okay, well, you see more than I do, which I guess you're supposed to, but I like shot selection though too. Do you think that, and that's something I feel like has been with you since Green Bay, Wisconsin, even, and even Davis, so as well, the times again that you would play striker, but. Um, Actually, that's something that I'll bring up though too later. Like now that I'm thinking about it, but I'll ask this question. But um, like with shots, have you found that it's become more difficult and you need to be more regimented with the kind of shots that you're taking, looking for those openings a little bit more often? Like, tell me about that.
Actually, it's funny you say that because my teammates were always, well, my coaches as well were more angry that I wasn't taking more shots because
Okay.
like Bruno was a right back and he had more shots than me, like almost every single game. But it's not because he was taking bad shots; it's because I wasn't taking shots. Because like I'm definitely a pass first type of nine, which is like not heard of really because I should be finishing. But the it's just because I had so many talented people around me. So when I would get like people on my left or right, my instinct is to pass to them, even if I do have an open shot, because I know they're good enough to finish the ball as well. And if they're more open, then I would pass rather than shoot. But I think the main thing over the season that I learned is that like if I'm open as a striker, they're not going to get mad at me for trying to score. That's pretty much.
Yeah, interesting. And even though too, I keep talking about the time that you spent as a center back. Would you mind just refreshing everyone about like that little period at Davis, with that one season where it was a little like where there was the hole there and you were able to fill in at center back for the season.
Yeah, we got hurt. We had like three people injured at the center back role, and I went up to my coach at practice one day because we were trying to figure out positions. I was like, I can play center back. As it wasn't a joke, but because I have, but at the same time, like it was like, oh, I'll fill in for today. And then I played there, and I never left the back line. I played the whole season there. It was a good season. It was a great season because I got accolades and stuff like that, but. I never left the back line after that. So
And this was your senior season or your junior season where this happened?
my senior year, my last year playing college, I moved to center back.
Yeah, my memory's getting fuzzy. You do 100 of these and you start like the years start blending together with all you guys. But um, like has that how much? And I know this is different from the college to the pro environment, but does that viewpoint of being a center back now that you've switched back to being an offensive monster, I would say. I mean, has that helped at all? I mean, I know it's different levels, but just your thoughts on that.
I would say for sure
Okay.
because being a center back, I knew what I didn't like. I knew what I didn't like the striker doing, whether they drifted me out wide or they cut inside, or when I'm forcing them outside and they're going inside and outside. I just knew what I didn't like the defender to do versus me, and then I turned that into what can I do to do the same thing against my defender. And so just playing center back made like opened up my eyes a lot about just exploiting the defender's weaknesses. So
No, I mean, I think it seems like, and the reason I asked that purely out of just general interest about that. I mean, naturally, I there are skills that translate. It just becomes curious, or I become curious about how much that they really end up translating as much. You know what I mean? Like if there really is that much of an impact. But I'm glad it's helped you to this point, though, too.
yeah, yeah,
So, I mean, just to look at a few of the other things that I have, written down as my questions. I mean, getting voted to the all League One first team is phenomenal. And I don't know many people who didn't see it coming, but I mean, I know it had to have been a great thing to, be notified by. If you don't mind me asking, how did you come to be aware that you were one of the three best strikers in all of League One?
yeah. So I didn't really think like a lot of it until the end of the season when we got sent our voting ballots and our like team captain was like, "You guys need to go vote for the USL players," and then I realized like I was looking at the list and I realized like I have a chance like out of like all the strikers like I was probably the most memorable on most of the center backs besides the two other ones that were phenomenal strikers scoring amazing goals on a bunch of goals as well. But then I was asking my team like, oh, like, did you guys do the voting? Like, cause like I didn't know if we had to do it or if it was mandatory or something. And they're like, yeah, yeah, I voted for you and the other two, and then that's when I started realizing like, oh, so I do have a chance. And then I got DM'd by the PA and they said that I made the team, and man, me and Bruno, obviously we lived together. It was like 7 in the morning, and they DM'd me, and I ran to his room and I woke him up, and I was like, Bruno, Bruno, look, look, look. He's like, what? It's like I know, like I told you you would win, and I was like, oh well, I didn't think so. So
Funny. And I know Lalo made it onto the second team though too,
yes.
the keeper like we talked about as well. I mean, I'll make sure like I have everything all together just so I know like who the right people are. But tell me about Lalo though too, like how much of an impact that he's been for, been between the sticks for Northern Colorado.
Oh my goodness, what a player! I would say like in terms of giving confidence to players, he loved it. He loved it. He wanted to make sure that everyone was ready for the game. And he was very superstitious, you know. I don't know if he's going to get mad at me telling, but he would do the exact same thing every single game without fail. If I walked in the building with the wrong foot, go do it again. Go back outside and walk in with the right foot to make sure that you're on the same page every time that you come to this field. It's like, okay, for sure. And then like we're in trainings, we're practicing PKs, he would tell me where he's going to go before and know that they're going to go there and dive and miss so that they would have confidence. And I was like, okay, well, I understand that you are a great goalkeeper. Like I won't doubt that ever. So I would say between the six, I mean, he did everything he could possibly do for the team. So yeah.
No, I mean I love hearing those little stories as well. I know David Garcia was also on there as well. I'll give you a moment to talk about, just what he's been able to playing your position back in college at this.
Yeah. Yeah, he was a little bit different. He loved to go as hard as he can in practice, so that you understand that you have to play at 100% all the time. So if we're going up against each other, he's always talking to me, telling like chatting to me, telling me like, "Come on, you got to be better. You got to do this. You got to do that," because like not every single player in the league is gonna be easy to beat or be able. You're gonna be able to post them up. You might have to do different things, and he just really like he was like not hard on me, but he wanted to make sure that I was not just sliding through practice or anything. He wanted to make sure that I was always on my toes, and especially when he was defending me. And like we always went at it at each other because it was tough love. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, really interesting. And then I know, Haruki though as well has been a great, player to be able to be around. But I don't want to, I feel like we could go, on and on about like talking about everybody in this entire roster. Like, who are the other guys that you think like, maybe I'm missing out on? Who are the other guys that you think I should be, who are the other guys you think we should be talking about if you're all right with getting into that?
I think for sure Cello. Cello was a huge part of our team. Just in terms of he could play the 8 and the 10. So what when he did play the 10, we had so much structure in the middle that like it was hard for teams to break us down. But he also gave us that attacking threat when we needed to transition and go really fast.
Yeah.
And then all of our just everybody on the team is just really great. But even like Haruki was hurt for I think like 2 months at the end of the season, which was a really big blow. But even then, like showing up every day, making everybody laugh, like being there, like it was just like the environment was great around the team. But I mean, every single player on that team is amazing. Like even the people who didn't even get to touch the field, like our academy players, though they were great people to be around. So overall, it was great. Like yeah.
Great people up and down through the hailstorm though too. I think that's really been a theme of one of the things that we've been talking about, and I'm glad to hear that it's been a great time for you, but also really just for this entire team though too. I mean, a phenomenal run that you guys had regardless.
Yeah, yeah. I wish it went longer, but it's okay. I was happy to play with them for sure.
Um, and even though too, I mean, I want to talk about Union Omaha as well. I know there was a stint, in your season where there were two straight matches against Omaha. And I forget where they were played. I think one of them was a Jägermeister matchup. But I know they're known as one of those teams that and again, forgive me, I forget if this was played in Omaha or Northern Colorado, but regardless, I mean, those fans tend to travel pretty well despite being, out in Nebraska and it seems like the furthest away from many of the other teams. But, what was it like playing some of those squads?
Omaha was definitely like I would say the toughest, if not one of the toughest we ever played, just because like matchup to matchup, we all wanted to go at each other, whether it was me versus their striker, their winger versus their winger, defender versus defender. We always wanted to be a level or a step ahead because they were the best team in the league. Like they won the Players Field, so they deserved it. So us playing against them, we always wanted to. I guess they were the team that we wanted to win or we wanted to beat so bad because we did understand how good they were. Like we gave them their respect. We understood that like we need to show up every single time we play them, otherwise we will get beat. And that stretch, we played them the first time in the Jägermeister Cup, and we beat them 2-0, I think. Me and Bruno, of course. We played, and then the next game they beat us because we didn't show up that game, and it was 3-2. And it was it's just like it just shows that no matter what team showed up, if they showed up, they would win the game. And that's what I loved about playing them is because they were so difficult to play. And if they showed up, they could beat us on any day. And if we showed up, we could beat them on any day. So
And I mean, we could look at Forward Madison, Greenville, Spokane, South Georgia. I know have made a stint Knoxville, Chattanooga. I feel like there really is a lot of parity, despite what people could look at as like, oh, trying to quantify the best team or X team or whatever we look at. But I mean, it really felt like every match that you guys are playing, it was close. There was no match I feel like that Colorado was out of, unless I'm forgetting something and I've blanked it out of my mind because I didn't want to think about it. But there are, I think every match the team you guys were playing against was not intending on only going 60% to save themselves for a game, later in the week or whatever it ends up being. How do you think that characterizes this Northern Colorado team? Do you think that there was truth to that?
Yeah, for sure. I just think that like no matter who we are up against, everybody wanted to like have a stat, to have make sure that we all get on the board. If I scored, oh, it's your turn to score. Oh, if I got a stat, okay, let's go. Or like if I already scored, here, have the PK. Let's move on as a team. And that what was so healthy about us. It didn't matter who was getting the stats. It just mattered that we were winning. So when we would go out there, everybody would be happy because everybody would be contributing to the win. So yeah.
No, that's phenomenal. I mean, we've said it over and over again, but I really like the organization that you guys have got over out in Colorado.
For sure.
So, that being said, I think, the last thought that I wanted to bring up to you though, too, I mean, with the phenomenal rookie year that you've had in the professional leagues, um, regardless of where the journey ends up to, I'm speaking broadly because I don't want to talk about, um, you know, I don't want to get too far into like, anything that's contractual or anything like that, but just looking broadly about, where um your professional career is at this point, how far you've come now, and to a point to where you're going to be able to continue to grow over these next few years. I mean, what's the kind of player that you think I'm going to be able to watch people at home, supporters of you, your club, are going to be able to see for years to come?
I would say um, someone someone who puts on a jersey and doesn't take it for granted. Every time I put on a jersey, I loved it. And then I love the fans. Anything a fan ever asks you to do, for sure, of course. I'll walk you to your car if you need to, like stuff like that. Like anytime I probably gave away the most jerseys. Don't tell them that, but every single game, no matter who it was, of course, I would love to. And I think that's what I will take from being at Northern Colorado is that like no matter where I'm playing, no matter how I'm playing, no matter if I'm starting or not, playing is a gift. So no matter how I play or where I am, I'm gonna play as it's my last game. So
Well said, my man. I really appreciate the time. Again, I love being able to catch up and just have you come on for a part two, but I'm all out of my questions. If there's anything else you'd like to put out there, I'll leave you the chance to do so now, but thank you again, Ethan.
I would just say thank you for the Northern Colorado Hailstorm, just for welcoming me and giving me the opportunity that I have and giving me the year that I did. So yeah, that's about it.
Well said. All the best to you, and like I said before, however far back it was, but you've always got a supporter in me and kick a ball, my man.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.